Okay, welcome back, folks. And so we're going to need a couple of different tools for pulling off this cassette. My name's Skaggsy Bones. I'm your host today, and today this is part 2 of doing a basic overhaul and greasing on your bike. So in the last episode, we pulled off the crankset and we re-greased the bottom bracket bearings and the shaft, as well as we cleaned and greased the chain. It took roughly about 20 minutes or so altogether, and that was completely taken apart. We didn't pull the bottom bracket out, as you remember. We just pulled off the crankset, but it doesn't take that long, as you can tell. Not that big of a deal. Today we're going to be pulling apart our cassette and actually individually cleaning all the teeth on the cassette. I want to show you it's not really that hard to do. So one of the first things you want to do is you want to take off your quick release. Okay, so we're going to pull our quick release skewer here, and then I will show you, once I got this off, I will show you some of the tools that we'll be using for this. Okay, and like I said, I could have done some shortcuts on this, but kind of trying to show you guys about how long it takes you altogether to truly do this without doing time lapse or something like that. So I'm going to take the spring. So you have 2 springs on the quick release skewer. Once you pull that off, put that other spring back on there. You don't want to lose it. Put the nut end on the quick release. Put the quick release back together. Yeah, you'll have to take it back apart, but it will be better if the quick release is together. So a couple of tools we're going to need is we're going to need this cassette tool. This is a part tool, cassette tool. It is Foxtrot Romeo 5 Golf. Okay, as you can see right there, Foxtrot Romeo 5 Golf. We'll try to put that in the description below. That's the one we're going to be using for this. Okay. So how this quick release tool, how the cassette tool works is it goes in here. As you can see here, you have this little locking nut on here that has these teeth, and this tool is going to go in there. It's going to match up with those and go in like that. Now the thing is, the direction to tighten is this way, okay? But to loosen it's this way. So I'm like, well, how in the heck am I going to get that off? So I need to loosen it by going this way, and I can't because it freewheels. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to come over here, and I got my chain whip tool. Okay, and you can make one. You don't have to actually use a bought one, but they're not expensive anyways. They're about 10 bucks. It's got a chain on it. And what it does is you go the opposite direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the chain whip tool on this way, like so. Sorry, like so. Poke down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this. It doesn't matter how far up I go or how far down I go. If I go down farther, I just want to make sure that I get the second set of chains that are here. That's to prevent the metal part from hitting the cassette and damaging the cassette. So what is going to happen is I'm going to hold the cassette like so with this guy. You don't want to put a lot of tension against the spokes, so don't hold it with the spokes per se. And it goes down even more. Okay, and then this part tool uses an inch. Some people use an adjustable wrench. I have a inch socket. Okay, quarter or 3/4 socket driver and a 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to come here, put it in the right direction, and then I'm going to hold this with one hand and I'm going to go into the other side so I get more leverage, like so. And you're just going to push, and it feels like it's going to grind. Okay, that locking nut is going to feel like it's grinding. That's normal. That means it's coming apart. and I'll show you why. And then you can, now that it's loose, you take that second-hand tool off, and you can just put this ratchet aside. And you can also put this in a vise, by the way, folks. I have a vise that holds this and won't damage that. There, it's called a cone vise. Then you're going to take this apart here. You can see I already have some grease and stuff on it. Okay. And take my tool and put it away. And then I'm going to start by taking this guy apart. Now, don't worry about knowing where everything goes, because they have individual teeth, and then they have a key tooth. So it can only go in one way. I can't accidentally put it in the wrong way. If I go over this way, the last one will go in anyway, but the rest of these aren't. They can only go in one direction, okay? So don't worry about that. I'm going to take my cloth. I'm going to start by cleaning each one of these guys off. Like so. Okay, so if you notice here, you have threads on this. This is the locking nut. And you actually have these little threads. And then you have this pressure plate. And then you have these teeth. Okay? So what happens is this little spring mechanism, it pushes down, and then the teeth lock in on this side of the last gear and actually catch. Okay, and then it's got little teeth there. See those little teeth, and it grips it. Okay, and it prevents it from coming out. So that's how that works. Tape and wipe this off. I'm going to start by placing down some paper towel. I'm going to take these off one at a time. Not so much that I think I'm going to lose them. It's just I want to hold them on something, and I want to clean them properly. So I'm going to wipe them down. And once again, I'm using the rag that had all the oil on it, because that will put some natural oils right back into it as I wipe it off. And then what I will do is I'm going to literally soak these in that chain oil. And then you'll have some spacers on these. The smallest cog, like the 11 tooth. And by the way, if you get confused with the smaller ones, they say how many teeth they are. So this says on here 13A, and it says 11 speed. So you know that this is the 13th tooth cog. Okay. And take your spacer off. I wipe it down. I don't put grease on the spacer. I just get it wiped off. And then after your 11 tooth, that's when you start to get the spacers. So people are like, well, how do I know where my spacers go? Well, the last two don't get spacers. Okay, it's only, but the rest of them do. So you're gonna have a spacer in between each one until the last two. So just take a spacer and start with the largest one and put a spacer after each gear until you run out of spacers. And then you know you got all your spacers. And like I said, I look at these, I check the teeth for wear. Some of these teeth just get super shiny, especially the ones that are angled. They're going to get super shiny. And then your main drive teeth, which are the ones that are flat away from the edge. So here's your shifting teeth. These are the thinner ones. They have this little ridge here, and those are your shifting teeth. And then these teeth here, okay, I always forget what these other ones are for, the angled, the shark ones. You have, these are your main drive teeth, and when these start to wear, you will notice these will start to look like these teeth here, and when that happens, you got a problem. So any of the cut teeth, like these guys and these guys, they're going to have a funny angle to them. Okay, any of these cut teeth, they're going to have a little funny angle to them. They're not going to look normal, and you can just, like I said, no, they're going to look a little bit possibly shiny and a little bit different than the other ones. So like I said, I just continue to clean, keep them. If you notice, the other thing is too, as you get more expensive cassettes, they will have less metal. So more expensive cassettes will have these holes in them, and then they're shaved a little differently on the teeth. The teeth are formed a little differently, and it allows for different shifting. Of course, you're in your 11 speeds. Who knows when they'll go to a 12 speed? They're just shaped a little different. The plastic spacers are going to get gunk on too. It's just part of life, because as you grease up your cassette, you're going to get grease that flows in on these spacers. So make sure the spacers do get clean. There's no sense of cleaning your gears and getting all the gunk off the gears if you simply leave all the gunk on the spacers, and then that grease, they collect grease. Or sorry, they collect dirt. The grease that's on there will collect dirt. I don't grease my gears. I never grease my gears. You grease these and you're looking for trouble, because then a lot of dirt is going to collect on these. Okay. And as you can see, they're becoming more and more hollow. But the bigger tooth gears are going to collect more and more dirt. If you notice, they're starting to get pretty dirty in here. You get a lot of black oil and residue on the bigger teeth that go up. Where I am located, we do a lot of climbing. I should technically probably be using bigger gears than 32s, or sorry, than 28s. Should be at least using 32s. But I'm not. I remember when that was your largest rear gear. Is that 21? Now the rest of these are all attached together, so you're not going to. You can take these apart. Well, no, they're riveted in. Sometimes they have little screws and you can unscrew it and take it apart. But I'll show you a little trick. For these. So I get this wiped out and get all the okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rag I'm going to kind of work my way around the thing like so, working the rag in there like that, pulling it as I go like so. Okay, and technically you can clean all the gears that way when they're on the bike. You don't have to do what I'm doing all the time, but I wanted to give this a little bit of loving care just because of where we're at is extremely dirty. And then once I ride in the rain, so I keep these kind of wet, and then when I ride in the rain, one thing I do is I take old clothes, I use those as cloths. I don't let my wife throw anything all away. Okay, so now I have that. Once again, we're going to take the Epic Ride. I'm going to put this guy on here like so. I'm going to kind of just spread this out on here. And some people are like, why do you let so much go on there? I'm like, well, I just want it on there and then it'll dry out. You can kind of let it run down it. Like so. I'll just let it sit on there, and probably after about 4 or 5 minutes, it'll dry on there. Okay, I just let it sit. Okay, so I'll just let it sit like so, and I'll let that soak in. And then I'll go back to the hub. So one of the things I want to make sure that isn't happening is that we're not getting wear in on the actual hub itself. You got a couple places here you're getting a little bit of some wear. They had grease in here, but it wasn't spread around that good. So I'm going to pull some of it out. Not a lot. I want to keep most of the grease in there. It looks pretty decent grease. I'm just going to wipe off the hubs as you see fit. And then, when we've done that, this guy is going to go back on in a very specific way. So we have a large key ring, or sorry, a small one. And then this is going to go on that small key. That's the only way it can go. Okay. Now I've kind of laid out my so we have a 23. The next one is a 21. And you always want to have the writing out. And then in between these guys, you don't need a spacer. And this is where some people get confused. They're like, well, I need the spacer here. But let me show you something. So if I was to put a spacer there, I'm going to put this guy on. Watch what happens. So now I have a huge gap in there. See that gap? See how that doesn't look normal? So I don't want to put a spacer in between the body and this guy. Okay. So we'll come here once again. Kind of rub it in. And I'm going to So, you got the next one. Make sure you flip it around. Make sure the writing, you can see the writing. You always got to see the writing. You should be able to actually look at the writing on each one of these guys here. Okay. once again, I'm going to take this. So, pour some stuff on it. I rub it around a little bit. I wipe off the excess. Okay. The main ones I let it sit on there because they can't be cleaned as easy as these guys can. And oops, made a mistake. Help if I put a spacer on it. So you get your first spacer. By the way, the spacers don't have the tiny little key mark on. They just don't. Okay, bam. And now we're to our 17. This big bottle, I use a bottle a year, okay? Don't be afraid to use it. This is the White Lightning, okay? Most people will use maybe a bottle in their, they'll use a bottle their entire life. But I go through a bottle a year, it's not super expensive, and man, I can't seem to remember to put a spacer on. Okay, I'm going to put a spacer on first. I grease every couple rides. I grease the chain. People are like, well, you don't use that much care in your car. But remember, your entire drive chain or drive train, in this case, is exposed to the elements. Yeah, like that. So I just put a little bit of the chain oil on the other sprockets. Then our last spacer. I wipe the excess off. Like I said, if you let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, even with a heavy amount of it, it will dry on there. Tooth. Now we have our 12 tooth. And the 12 tooth, if you notice, they kind of already have a spacer there because they get a little closer. 12 and the 11 tooth should both have built-in spacers. And they kind of sit inside each other. So okay, I'm going to put the top on the White Lightning. Don't want to spill that. And then we're going to come over here with our chain, our tool. And like I said, you can use an adjustable wrench. Use this guy. Now I don't have a torque wrench adapter for my torque wrench for this, for the 3/8 wrench. But what you can do, if you come in like so, and once you get it on there good and tight on your lap, just kind of give it one more notch of a push. That should be more than enough. Take that off. And then we're going to give our wheels a once over. Like so. Make sure the rims are nice and wiped down. Sorry. And now we're ready to put this back on. So once again, we're going to come back to our quick release. And you're going to put the quick release in. Make sure the large end of the spring size goes towards the end of the quick release, not towards the end of the spline. Okay. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to remove our part tool, chain tool. And we're going to come up, bring this in. Excuse me. And we're just going to come back up. And what I do is I put my leg up underneath it, support it. Tighten from here. Don't use the other side's a wing nut. And then put your quick release up towards away. You never want your quick release to be out this way, because if you're riding in a group and somebody hits you like this, it's going to pop your quick release open. Then you're in trouble. Okay, so now we're going to check our gearing. So you can probably at this point in time, you can probably put your tools away, but I kind of keep them out. I take off my gloves because at this point in time, everything should be pretty clean. I don't want to contaminate anything else with whatever grease may be on the gloves. I'll pull the gloves out. And one thing I do as well is I pour some alcohol down into the gloves and let that dry my sweat out of the gloves. And then, okay, so I'm just going to go up each, sorry, oops. see it, so I'm going to go up each. One at a time. Go off this set a couple times. Not on it. See if it jumps up in big increments. Like it should. Okay, now it looks like our shifting is good. If for some reason our shifting seems off, and what I mean is, if it's not shifting up or down, for instance, if you're to look at the back of the derailleur, this cable tensioner, if you screw it out, it drops, it releases tension, and it brings the mech hanger down this way, okay? So by releasing tension, it causes it to drop this way. If you turn it this way, it increases tension and it'll put it back this way. So whatever gear you're in, I always want that top jockey wheel to be right underneath the, I want it to be right underneath the gear that it's in, okay? And I always set it for this middle gear. So this is 11 tooth cog, so I want it in the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth or sixth, okay? Sixth gear, sorry, not the fifth. Okay, so I'm always wanting the sixth, that's the middle gear. If it was 9 gears, you'd have it in the fifth cog, and that's the center. So from there, you want this mech hanger to be right behind that gear. And if it's not, and it's not shifting properly up or down through tension, okay? So remember, your high and low limit screws are just to prevent it from going too far and going into the spokes, or from coming down too far and hitting the bar here, okay? That's all that is, okay? So I should be able to manually take this, like so, and how I set my limit screw is I just take my mech hanger by hand and I put it there, and then I set my tension screw, okay? And you should be able to come all the way down to the lowest cog and literally manually push it up, like so. You're doing the job of the cable, okay? So you should be able to do that by hand. Once that is done, then it's all cable tension, okay? From there. And then if it's not cable tension, then there could be a problem with the mech hanger. So the mech hanger is aluminum, and it can bend one way or the other. And if it's bending, if it's bent some way, if it's bent one way or the other, it's going to actually cause this to not shift properly, okay? And that's for a later video. I have done a video on that when I did my mountain bike build, because we had to readjust the mech hanger, the rear mech hanger, because it was all bent up. But if you guys want to see that in a video, just go ahead and give me a comment in the comment section below, and I'll put that in a video for you guys. Hopefully this has been a pretty informative couple of videos as far as taking care and maintaining your bike. This took a total of about 40 minutes altogether, maybe a little less, maybe about 35 minutes, because I had some setup to do and stuff like that. The actual job of pulling everything apart took about maybe 25 to 30 minutes, and then getting it back in and adjusting everything, make sure your gears work, takes another about 5 to 10 minutes, and so altogether you might have 40 minutes in doing this. So altogether, as you can see, you may have an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 15 minutes in doing both these jobs. Very simple, easy to do. Don't take a long time to keep your bike's drivetrain up and running. It's very important. Your drivetrain takes the most abuse of anything, whether it be your mountain bike or your road bike. It takes massive abuse. So make sure you always keep it good, and it will always take care of you. Hopefully that's been a great video for you guys. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button above, and like always, keep riding.